It's different by the sea. Out here on the rugged edges of the green interior, you come face to face with something wilder, vaster, more primordial. The first thing you notice are the squawks of the seagulls. When you imagine the sound of birds, you imagine the birdsong of the countryside, sweet melodic lilts and trills filling up the silence with music. Seagulls don't sound like that. Seagulls sound like the Jeremy Kyle contestants of the bird kingdom, always full of aggro at 3 in the morning, keeping you up all night. The very first night here, when we'd finally decided to stop unpacking boxes and lay down, we had hurried feet run across the ceiling. Shit, we thought, we've moved into a haunted house. We were spooked out by this unsettled scarpering to and fro for 3 nights running, until we realised there was a baby seagull trapped on the roof. We phoned the RSPB in a panic. They asked if we just moved down from London. Locals are used to this happening, and told me under no circumstances to feed the bird, so I kept quiet about the chunks of Warburton's white sliced I've been giving it every couple of hours. But these are just small details against an altogether more profound backdrop, the sounds of the vasty deep herself. Along the prom, on my walk home from our shop every evening, half my view's taken up by the familiar human scale world, stuccoed terraces, chippies, traffic lights. The other half will be taken up by that flat, endless sea, stretching out forever in space and time, and above it, watching from eternity, the pantheon of the constellations. Living by the seaside, you cannot help but take on a more cosmic perspective. The sounds here are similarly primordial, 1,000,000 tons of churning sea, a vast muffled juggernaut of white noise reverberating along the hills that rise up the bending bay, an enormous natural amphitheatre, a giant shell to the ear that stretches all the way to the horizon. And lying in the darkness of the bedroom some nights, when the wind's right, everything here roars. The air itself roars like the beginning of the world, the roar of the world emerging from the cosmic void. But that is on the wild, unsettled nights. When the weather's gentler, the sound of the sea fades back to a whispered shh, like a mother to her baby. The slow rhythm of calm waves lapping the beach, breaking on the sands, beckoning you from your bedroom window to the shores of sleep. Sat in the Silchester Road laundrette with a gnarly old hippie bloke's tie-dye spinning. The sign read, "Smile, you're on CCTV," and I was smiling, soaking up the shabby magic of the seaside town, while the sunset glared against the laundrette windows. You sense the autumn in the sharpness of the light, the sudden freshness in the air, marking the end of one full cycle, the circle of our first year here. And I think back to when we first discovered the place, and it was all exotic and unfamiliar. And on our very first visit to the seaside town, a heavy full moon rose above the waters. We felt there was some strange magic afoot, and we'd been pulled in by its tides, like it had already been decided for us. In the early days, I'd pushed the newborn baby down the concrete sweep of the prom, towards the ruined pier like a burned match sticking out into the English Channel. rotten stumps at the centre of the seafront smile, turning it into a foreboding dead zone. But with the spring, it all blossomed back to life. Palm trees appeared on the desolate stretch. People turned up in their droves, meandering aimlessly, just happy to be walking round the place, staring out at the blue. And now, a year later, I'm still pushing the baby down that lovely concrete sweep. He points to the big blue, saying "baff," his second word. The boy was born in London, but this is all he's ever known. And heading home through the wedding cake square, the statue of Victoria ruling the waves, impossible grandeur of a bygone era in all its moth-eaten pomp and glamour, fallen away into this strange, shady half-life, while our huddled minions scratch enough money for a tenner bag or a few cans of Tennent's, and glazed eyes stare out from 2,000 leagues under the sea. Grubby net curtains, satellite dishes, rusty streaks down the stucco, blokes on crutches in Reebok classics, hanging round the phone box for a fix. And among this shady, seedy undergrowth, a certain bohemia's blossomed. I met a Buddhist postman, a theremin player, a white-bearded ex-opera singer, a lady from Hot Gossip who used to dance on the Kenny Everett show. For the first time in 20 years, I sat in warehouse studios that smelt of oil painting instead of farrow and ball. And for a while it felt like everyone I met was up to something weird, out here at the end of the road where they'd be left alone to get on with it. There was always this feeling this place was a law unto itself, a forgotten little corner you hoped it'd stay forgotten a little bit longer, close enough and far enough to follow its own eccentric orbit round the capital, the culture, the laws of economics. Somewhere out here, beyond the convenient commute of the pointy-shoed fuckers with a hedge fund hair. They all got off the train before Tunbridge Wells, leaving it peppered with odd folk and stragglers who stayed on to the end of the line, right down here to the ends of England, where shitty old London Road and its chicken shops finally runs out of tarmac and hits the sea, and an old copper green clock from the Jazz Age still keeps the hours against that blue that stretches out the same forever. To live in a place and to walk each day where the whole familiar world is behind you and before you is the great unknown, the poetry of the magnificent blue distance. And when I push the boys' pram along the front each day, it's with this long view, with me back to Little England and its trivialities, me back to those tatty, terrified St. George crosses, flown in vain against the blue unknown, as pointless as King Canute telling the tide to stop. To live beside the sea can be to live beyond all that, to open ourselves up to that which is beyond us, to let the big beyond wash all that away from us like pebbles in its foam. And now I walk home by the crumbling elegance of the Regency facades, potholed pavements and rising damp. And when the sun's caught low against the pastel stucco, the dog shit capital of the south coast can look impossibly pretty. Long shadows against the clotted cream streets of Golden Hour, a dreaming seaside town for dreamers. And every evening at sundown, I get home to me pretty pebble terrace, and the church bells ring their rich, deep melody, like it was all a message just for me. St.Leonards telling me I've been given a second chance, that I'd entered into some kind of pact with the place, and it'd be kind to me and grant me what I needed. Thank you.